A warm welcome to all our viewers to our series Natural Medicine. Did you see that? Isn't that crazy? That was the topic of the last week, and today I'd like to dive into this topic with you again with the same two guests who are real pioneers and want to bring this technology closer to us. On the one hand, a warm welcome to Peer Zebergs. You are from Mallorca. You always say Mallorca, but as Swiss we say Mallorca. We get scolded when we say Mallorca. You have a centre for cell energy there. That's exactly the topic we want to get back to. And on the other hand, the pioneer, Arthur Tränkle. A warm welcome to you too. You have discovered this Tesla technology, found it again, and now spreading it all over Europe, actually almost worldwide, as I've heard. And now I'd like to bring this closer to our viewers. The last show was incredibly interesting. And I want to summarise briefly, and then we go into detail again. As I understood it, this device transfers electrons in the form of short and long waves. These electrons are there to replenish our deficits in the cell. That means to charge our battery again, which tends to be weak. Full battery, full health, jump start. The jump start for the cells. Exactly, the body produces a lot of ATP, the self-healing power is there. If I have a specific problem, then I can give these electrons at specific points, onto my hand, or my ears, or my eyes, or my knees. And I can speed up the healing effect, correct? Yeah. Great, right? So, actually, we can stop the broadcast now. A universal tool. You explained to me that we also have frequencies in it, because every body organ has its own frequencies. And as soon as something comes into resonance, so I give a frequency X, and the lungs have the same frequency, then they start to vibrate again, resonate. And when it has the optimal vibration, it's actually in its balance again, in its health, in harmony. In harmony, good. And it's not that a wrong vibration triggers something here, but I have basically all vibrations in here, and one of those vibrations brings my lungs back into vibration. So, an all-in-one tool. Instead of setting a frequency every time, I have it all in one here. Exactly, because it's basically the original frequency. The mitochondria are the basis of the cell's energy production. Then I use the word deacidification. That means we actually put electrons into the area where there are too few electrons. That results in deficiency, diseases arise. Also hyperacidity. So this device would actually deacidify my body cells. I would rather speak of detox. We have, especially in the connective tissue, a lot of acid molecules that are temporarily stored there as toxic waste dumps. And what do we have to do then? We basically have to improve the fluids and flow rates there. And maybe you can share that briefly. With the rouleau formation, we can prove that the flow rate of the blood, the lymphatic system, everything's improved. And in order to be able to break down toxin dumps, which are the cause of many things such as cysts, myoma, or often tumours too, I have to dispose of them. How do I dispose of them? By making the water more liquid, so that it has the potential again to dispose of something. Or, as you always say, I've looked at all the things about the water stations. They're great. It has to be clean water. Clean water which is hexagonal will dispose of toxins. I want to show that to the audience again. And please, Arthur, we see two different pictures here. One of a rouleau formation, and the other so nicely structured. Exactly, before and after. Different attempts are made here, and it's well known that when blood no longer carries enough oxygen, it sticks together a bit. And then not every oxygen molecule is really optimally bonded. And then we asked the subject to drink water, to use a device, and then the picture on the right was created, the after picture, where then every platelet is charged with full energy. And in doing so, we found one thing. As soon as we hold the handpiece close to the dark field microscope, before that the blood is very sluggish, and as soon as we hold the hand probe to it, it starts to flow. Does it have to do with the fact that minus and minus repel each other? And I have a nice... Right, and they flow. We also recorded that. You can also watch it as a video. It's unbelievable. And everyone who knows about dark field microscopy with blood tests, for them it's a novelty. They haven't seen it yet. So again, I put energy into the cell, which is full of electrons again. And the other platelet is also full of electrons, and that's a minus charge. A minus and minus repel each other, and I actually have a healthy picture of how blood should actually be. Why is there such a rouleau formation on the other side? What leads to the fact that there are actually these shifts, that everything goes into one another? Maybe you, dear peer. It certainly has to do with the various electromagnetic fields that simply attract each other more. And with very clean, clear water, it's just different. There are so many toxins in here, maybe too many minerals, and they need to get out and need to be disposed of. As soon as I get them out, it just doesn't stick that way anymore, and it also has to do with electromagnetic fields, which are also cleaned up here. The cell phone network, for example, when someone talks on the phone for 15 minutes, it has often been proved that a rouleau formation takes place. Or someone is sitting at his workplace next to the Wi-Fi router, and then you have to measure your blood, look at it, and can determine this effect. Now again to this rouleau formation. When we have it, and now you said the word oxygen before, what does that mean if I have clumped blood for the transport of oxygen? On the one hand, the oxygen transport is enormously reduced. This is a disaster for the energy production in the cells. The mitochondria need oxygen. Only the cancer cells don't need it anymore, because they run purely through a fermentation process. But this rouleau formation, when I have a flow rate, which is very high, I have better nutrient transport, have better detoxification, purification, and have better oxygen transport. That means I'm also more productive. One more point, in the case of hexagonal water, scientists found out that only with this, for example, mammals that drink hexagonal water are 47% more efficient. They didn't change anything except give these animals hexagonal water. Really? Yes. So maybe you really have to discuss this with a farmer now. Instead of breeding these cows, these high-performance cows with feed, if you could actually adjust them to health again, with healthy water, then they might have the same performance. But that's the same with us humans, isn't it? Definitely. How did they get to all the stories? 50 or 60 years ago. The water sign started in the middle of the Hunza Valley. I'm sure you know the Hunza Valley. It's a high mountain area in Pakistan. And for some reason, people live to be 120 years old on average. There are people 140 years old too. They measured that. Why is that? It was just the water they had. They were otherwise equipped exactly the same as those in other valleys, but in this valley, it was just like that. The glassy water was hexagonal. It was active hydrogen rich and had very many minerals, but organic minerals. And then I have these electrons available. I have a lot of energy because there's a lot of swirling. The water was also exposed to solar radiation. That was the best water, as the spring water in the village well used to be. It was living, structured water. There's a lot of energy in there. It does the job in the body. We don't get that anymore today. You do it well in Switzerland. You have something like that with your mass processing, but can you do that at home with drinking water? Plus, with the antenna, I get the body fluids, also hexagonal and activated and energized and structured. And as I said, water makes up 99% of all molecules in the body. That is crucial. Here, you have another picture which I want to show right away. Here, this hexagonal structure, and that's exactly what our body fluid is in this structure. Exactly, in the positive structure. And here you can see that there are many, many more so-called electrons docked, which then bind these free radicals so that we can slow down an inflammatory process. Because today we're talking about the age of inflammation, whereas specialists say we all have little chance of not getting an inflammation. And what this great water has, and here too, it has active hydrogen. So the pH value is measured by the potential of hydrogen. So the more positive hydrogen ions I have in the water, the more positive, H+. H- is measured, these are the bases. Yes, well, so to speak, the more H+ I have, the more acidic the water is. Yes, exactly. That's the way it is, but there is a hydrogen that has an extra electron. Normally hydrogen only has one proton and one electron. There's a hydrogen that has two electrons. It develops, for example, in this glacier water, and this second electron is then available For antioxidant processes, that means the electron can be given up, neutralizes a free radical, and this hydrogen, which is left over, still has an electron. That remains neutral. But if I take vitamin A, C or E as an antioxidant, and it gives off an electron, it becomes a free radical. After all, it has lost an electron. It has to look for one again. Here I have an ingenious solution, so to speak, with no negative side effects. That means I have the neutralization without the base material becoming bad for me. And the only substance with which this is the case is active hydrogen, the most powerful antioxidant there is. Yeah, that's a topic that comes up more and more in medicine. With this hydrogen with inhalations or enriching water and drinking it. But here we actually do everything ourselves directly. I might have a supplement for over-acidification. Everyone knows sore muscles. You've overexerted yourself, then you have 2 or 3 days of problems with the muscles. And then I thought to myself that the device, or the hand probe, could do something. Then I used it on my feet in the evening, after an hour and a half, at the senior football games, and I didn't have sore muscles the next morning. What are sore muscles? Those are tiny cracks, and the body has to repair them. Mostly at night, but the night is not enough, and then it just takes 2 or 3 days. Well, I haven't had sore muscles in years, even though I still exercise, and we then shared that with people who are involved in competitive sports every day, who then used it immediately. So there are so many uses for the body. Another case, a few years ago, someone from Switzerland asked me, he kept having problems with hemorrhoids, whether the hand probe works. I said, I don't know, I have no problem with that. But then he tested it for 4, 5, 6 weeks. He says his hemorrhoids have regressed. If I knew that. That the device can do that. I say this is the first time I hear it, so every day we get so much feedback from things where people have used it, everything based on cell tissue, because it's water-based too, and the results are amazing. So actually, completely logical too, these hemorrhoids are also nothing more than an inflamed area. Exactly. Well, also with deposits, I heard it once, but anyway, when I add electrons, but let me do that again, I put electrons in, then the electron goes to the inflamed area, and the healing effect takes place. But did he insert that into himself, this probe? No, he practically sat on it and directed the blue antenna downwards. We had a funny case in an event once. My partner, Jürgen Janssen, had completed a new antenna, the first series prototype, and there was a guest, a woman, and she had a dog with her. She said her dog always has problems with hemorrhoids too, so she takes the antenna and inserts it right away. There are some things you wouldn't even think of. I still have a more human case. I sold the antenna to a customer who had always come to my practice beforehand. And she had cysts for the 7th time already. She's been operated on 6 times. The woman's 35 years old. By the way, a problem that an incredible number of women have. It's unbelievable. She then bought the device, has treated herself 6 or 8 times, the cysts were gone, and the 7th operation was no longer necessary. Cyst where? In the womb. So many women have problems there. So you give the body the chance to make itself healthy by always adding enough energy. No matter where the cysts are, on the jaw or anywhere else, within about 3 weeks, people tell us that the cyst basically carries the water, also through the kidneys and lymph. We had one case where an employee tapped her fingers with a hammer. She got a blood blister. And how long does it take for such a blood blister to be removed? This takes a week to 10 days. So she said, OK, I have the device. She takes the antenna, uses it on the finger for 10 minutes. The next day again. The next day the blood was gone already. And on the following day the fluid was completely removed. Now there have been cases where people used Botox therapy for children when they are so fidgety. Unbelievable things that happen to children so that they don't fidget anymore. And then the therapist used the device and after a week this poison was out of the body. It usually takes 6 months, sometimes 12 months, for the toxins to be discharged. With the help of this handheld probe, it took the body a week to regulate it. through the water to transport the pollutants away via the kidneys and liver, and that's actually a sensation. A sensation. Have you made a database with such patients? Or success reports where people made themselves healthy? We take in everyone, the people say, yes, you can record my name, say first name, so we really have thousands of testimonials. Video reports. The people also come to our events and report it, and also give a lecture. What they have done, with what result. And there are also these old historical books, these guides, where you can read from migraines to rheumatism, what they got under control with high frequency in a very short time, without chemicals, because I always wonder when I see the pharmacy sign with this snake, and a snake is actually not a good thing for me. So if there was a snake here now, we'd all be stunned immediately. But that's how it is in our everyday life. And it became the counterbalance. Naturopathy, we are all living beings. We are earthlings. Nature, Mother Nature is our basis, and we must not deny it. Back to these testimonials. I could well imagine that we put that on the TV channel somewhere on the menu so that you can just do a little bit of research. Because they really are people, the people, you out there, who simply give us reports just to feel or see a little more what it's used for. I find that very interesting. Also a classification for rheumatism, for eye problems, for ear problems, for knee problems, such a list. Does that really exist? That really exists. Pierre went out of the way to classify that as well. So I really took the testimonials from allergies to zoster, and I actually haven't found anything that I haven't found. There's a lot of feedback on skin problems, starting with acne, but also neurodermatitis, psoriasis, which people are reporting about, what people have not got under control over the years, so really bad. Or now I've had a few people too with herpes or herpes zoster, shingles, those things. So skin issues. Also, when it comes to pain, a lot of things are about chronic pain that people don't get under control. Living with problems for years. Or we had some kind of feedback from someone who spoke on our voicemail about this frozen shoulder. It takes half a year to a year before you notice it. He treated himself for a week, said no longer have a frozen shoulder. That doesn't work at all, but somehow it works, and nature can actually regulate it. So I'm a big believer in a theory that says nature is a miracle. Nature doesn't make mistakes. We are part of nature. So what do we have to do? We need to eliminate impairment and transform the physical state so that it can do the job. I'm already of the opinion that the body can regulate and do everything. The body's absolutely awesome and so complex. You have to give it a little support because we have so many interferences. We have electric smog, toxins. Many times we may not have good water. We just have to support it a little. Then it can do any job. Then there's no disease that is incurable, that the body can't heal itself. I think so too. The question, have you already been able to place it with doctors and therapists? Are they already open to this technology? For themselves, yes, we experience it. So it's from Mexico to Thailand, China. Of course, they are a lot further, more open. In Germany, of course, there are always people who have a broad horizon and who do it for themselves. It will be difficult in clinics because of the regulations. So who would be really predestined by science would be dentists. So I have a few personal testimonials. 2 women, one in her early 60s, had major teeth surgery. She irradiated for half an hour beforehand, immediately after the operation, and the next day there was no swelling. And she didn't even need painkillers afterwards. Then I had a more blatant case that was a 65-year-old woman. They had to rebuild the jawbone in preparation for an implant. And then they said, OK, we have to have the jaw open for at least 3 hours. Plus, she could now assume that she won't be socialising for a week. The next morning, after she was with me, it was a swelling of 2 millimeters, and she had a bruise here. That was it. Impossible. Just because, let's say, the flow rate has increased so much more oxygen. At the same time, it's antioxidant. At the same time, it's anti-inflammatory. That's what happens to these body fluids in a positive way. So, I mean, if I were a dentist now, I wouldn't have one, I would have two. Yes, I understand, because the patient goes home with a wound and regenerates very quickly, and then they are grateful without end, of course. Or if someone comes with a freshly sprained leg or something, swelling from exercise, or with fresh wounds, fresh injuries. The faster you use the device, the faster it goes away. Yes, I can only confirm that. I once worked with bases, and there, when you have an injury, a sports injury, or something pinched, spread out, it's the same, the bases go into the inflammation and heal. It's an ancient recipe. Probably all witches used to work like this, with bases, with herbal mixtures. So really a cure-it-all thing that you can use. If you now cover it with a foil at the front, for example for hemorrhoids, does that also work then, the effect via the plastic or via the glove? That goes through completely. It's not metal. Metal would shield it. Just to show that I don't really have to be touching it. Ah, you don't even have to insert it, you just hold it very close to your buttocks, right? That's enough. That's enough, and it gets warm for everyone at this point. Okay, do I have anything to consider with this device for hygienic reasons, or do I have to do something, service it or something? It must, of course, not come into contact with water. Not allowed to get into the water. It works with a test tube or a water glass. Well, that's enough, because the vibration goes in. The device comes with a plate with a test tube as an accessory, with which you put it into a water jug, but you can also hold it to the side. Exactly. Otherwise, normal hygiene use with alcohol or something like that, so it's easy to clean. You have such a cell energy centre in Mallorca, and the people come there to go on vacation and then let themselves be treated for a week. Most of the people who come to me are people who commute. Half of the time they live in Mallorca and half in Sweden, in Germany, in Switzerland. I have a lot of Scandinavians, so many Scandinavians, and now people who are with me are already sending other Scandinavians, so I have an incredible number of Swedes. Okay, and then do you treat people with this technology too? I have a portfolio of things where I first have to know where is a problem at all. Of course it's important, and I still work with Schumann frequencies, I have oxygen training and all these kinds of things, but it all has to do with energy. The basic medicine. I kind of bring people into the self-regulation mode, because most people are stressed. 95% of all diseases are the physiological response to stress. The release of stress hormones doesn't stop, and the electric smog in the evening doesn't stop, and then I have too little melatonin. I have to de-stress them first. I'll do that with Schumann, and then the basis is laid. To make the application even more successful, I have a lot of regular customers there. They come with enthusiasm, and many of them now also bring dogs with them. They'll then be treated separately, but there was one with a tumour, one who has a tracheal valve. How do you say? It was paralysed. It basically only worked 20%. There was nothing more that vets could do. We managed to get to 80% after 3 treatments. It was a 12-year-old Ridgeback who's still alive today, so he's still breathing well. And she occasionally borrows the device, although I don't usually do that because it's always in my practice. But it helped a lot, so it's the same with animals. 2 more questions before the airtime's up again. If someone is in pain and now just does a test treatment, after this half hour or hour, you have to tell me, do they already feel that something's happening? I can give you an example. A week ago Friday, I was invited to take part in a golf tournament. I was supposed to stand there. I did my analysis. A golf pro came who has had an inflamed shoulder for 2 months. I then gave him the instructions. He treated himself for 45 minutes later, and then he says, "It can't be, my pain's gone. I had that for 2 months. I couldn't hit a punch without pain." Then he says, "I don't believe it. He did this and that, all sorts of things. Pain's gone." So people really have to test it. But of course, it's a question of organic individuality. What exactly do they have? Is it an extreme injury? If they've had it for 10 years, then it won't go away in a second. But now I can just say, okay, after 45 minutes, 3 times 15 minutes, his pain was gone. And the second question, where can I find more information about this device? I know there are a lot of materials there, that's Tesla history. This is found on QuantiSana.ch. And you can also find people there who are already working with such devices, where you can also do a trial session. We would have to make sure that we put information in there Would be a good idea, because now, as a customer, I would say, my God, I'd like to test it, right? I really want to sit down for 45 minutes and then do my golf swing and see whether I am really pain-free. And if so, then of course it's a very different belief. Yes, of course. So that's why I would welcome the fact that we are building such a small network of people where the viewers can just go there and experience it firsthand. Well, yeah, we're out of time, but we certainly have to tell a little more and collect testimonials. I think that's an exciting topic. I'd like to thank you very much for being here, for this impressive experiment. I have to show it again. Hey, dear viewers, do you see that? Hang on. Now I'll come and take the energy away. Yes, exactly, that's how it works. So, in summary, we heard a lot again today, dear viewers. Electrons are the batteries of our cell. And when our cell is properly charged, it is neither acidic, nor can it cause disease, inflammation, or pain. Because every disease, every pain, and every inflammation comes from a deficiency. This is even a saying from Otto Warburg. He's a Nobel Prize winner who has already said that. And by the way, there has just been another Nobel Prize. If the oxygen is not high enough and cannot be transported well, then illness is also possible. And here too, we have made a contribution with this technology. Namely, that the oxygen can be transported better. No longer through the rouleau formation, but through a high flow rate of blood. Very nice word. Thank you very much. All the best to you. Good health. Thank you for watching, and see you next time.